Aloha, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Dana Garland. I have the privilege of serving as Executive Director and CEO of Pacific Whale Foundation. And I just want to say we're really grateful you set aside the time to spend with us this morning. Before we get into it, I'd love to know who's in the room. So I'm going to ask you to open your chat. And in that chat, tell us where are you connecting from and what's your connection to PWF? We'll pause for a moment. There's a lot of people joining. So before we dive in here, share with us in chat who's in the room, where are you connecting from, and what's your connection to PWF? Awesome. Hi, Cindy. I get the window up here so I can see these responses. There we go. Hi, Steve. Thanks for joining us this morning. Steve's joining from North Carolina. Awesome. All right, so while you all keep answering there and we find out, awesome. Hi, Catherine. So here's what we have planned for the next hour. I'm going to start with a quick look at who we are and how we work, and then we'll spend most of our time this morning on the heart of today, the impact you've made possible in the first half of 2026 across research, education, conservation, and outreach, plus Pac Whale Eco Adventures and our ocean store. Josh Heimowitz is with us this morning and will walk us through our financial updates year to date. And then we're going to open up breakout rooms so you can connect directly with our team before we close with some opportunities to get involved and for your questions. So let's see, we've got a couple other responses here. We've got Joan. Hi, Joan. Thank you for joining us from California. John in Massachusetts. Awesome. Thank you all for being here with us this morning. All right. So before we dive in, I want to take a moment right now to acknowledge the people who make this work possible, because everything you'll hear today is the result of their dedication. On the screen here, you see our 2026 executive team, the directors and managers guiding our research, education, conservation, and outreach, our eco tours and guest experiences, and the operations that hold it all together. They lead the teams, the teams of staff, our interns, and volunteers who show up for the ocean every single day. You'll also see our board of directors led by our chair, Jennifer Bevington. These volunteers give their time, their expertise, and their hearts to steward this mission. To every staff member, board member, and volunteer, I want to say mahalo. Thank you for your work. So who are we and what guides this work? Our mission is simple: to inspire and advance conservation for whales, dolphins, and the ocean. And our vision is a world where people and ocean life thrive harmoniously. I want to take a moment now to just honor where this work is rooted. Pacific Whale Foundation was founded here on Maui, the ancestral home of the Kanaka Maoli. Being grounded in this place carries a kuleana, a responsibility to take care of the Aina and the Kai, and for the communities who have protected these waters long before us. Though our work now extends well beyond Maui, our foundation stays grounded in Hawaiian values. These values ground and guide everything you'll hear today, and they shape our commitment to being a good ally to the Indigenous community here in Hawaii and to every community we serve along every shoreline. Our approach is grounded in science and powered by communities. That pairing keeps our conservation both evidence-based and culturally respectful. We center accessibility so that underserved communities are a part of this work, and we make education intergenerational. All of it comes together across 5 key areas of focus: cetacean research and advocacy, the science that tells us what our whales and dolphins need; youth education and workforce development, inspiring and preparing the next generation, marine debris removal and prevention, keeping our reefs and shorelines clean, community-led stewardship of Maui's Aina, connecting people to place, and ecotourism, both as an educational platform and as the engine that helps to fund it all through Pac Whale Eco Adventures. These aren't separate silos, they work in concert. For the rest of our time together, we're going to walk through what each one made possible in the first half of 2026. And here's something to look forward to. At the end, we'll open breakout rooms for each program, a chance to meet our team and ask your questions directly. So as we go, jot down anything you're curious about. You'll have time to ask it live. All right, let's start with research. The first half of 2026 was a season of firsts for our research team, and you're looking at some of them now. While these photos are on your screen, take a second to weigh in on the poll that you'll see posted. I think now, there you go. To tell us what we're actually seeing here, I'd like to welcome now our research director and chief scientist, Jens Curry.
Thanks, Dana. Thanks, Dana. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
So what we're seeing here are some of the photos from the first half of the year of our research in Ecuador and Hawaii. Ecuador is experiencing some El Nino conditions right now, and so we have a lot of first new species, new ranges, and some of those are seen here. We're also focused on engaging the community and developing entanglement response networks in coastal Ecuador, and you're seeing a lot of those trainings that happened, and you'll hear more about in the upcoming slides.
Okay, I'm seeing a lot of votes coming in here. Before we move on, Jens, what's the correct answer here?
Correct answer is over 500 pounds.
Wow. So over 500 pounds is the maximum weight loss we've observed in Hawaii's endangered population?
Yeah, that's about 25% of the animal's body weight.
Okay. Well, let's dig in a little bit more on some of these firsts. Your research is framed around firsts. What do you mean by that?
Well, we're documenting things that nobody has recorded before, and so filling the niche, making sure our resources are used efficiently and effectively. So looking at first evidence of nutritional stress in false killer whales, first evidence of bidirectional movements between ocean basins in Australia and Brazil, first assessment of marine debris impacts in Ecuador's marine protected areas, and first number of ecosystem services provided by spinner dolphins here in Hawaii. So each one of these fills a management gap, an actual management need, and helps managers make the decisions they might need for action and better protections of whales and dolphins.
Awesome. So coming back to the Hawaiian false killer whales, why does documenting the nutritional stresses in the Hawaiian false killer whales matter?
Well, first and foremost, there's not many of these individuals left. There's only about 139 in the population. They've been listed as endangered for over a decade. And so they've been a priority for PWS research program for quite some time. And so this latest work used drones to measure the body condition or size, sometimes also referred to as the health of individuals. And in 2020, we found the majority were unhealthy, and that was attributed to a marine heat wave that happened the prior year. And when we looked at individuals, we also observed that prey decline was impacting individuals, with some animals losing up to 500 pounds, as we just learned. And understanding the impacts of fisheries competition on the recovery potential for this population has long been a top management priority for almost a decade, but we didn't have the technology or science to answer that question effectively. And so through this work, we were able to show that false killer whales are struggling to find food, and that gives the sound science needed by NOAA and management agencies to take action and provide better protections for this endangered population.
So important. Thank you. Okay, so one of the findings this year tracked a humpback between Eastern Australia and Brazil. Can you share why was that significant?
Well, it's never been before being observed where an individual or humpback whales have moved between different ocean basins and breeding stocks in both directions. Sometimes we've observed once-off switches, but never before between two ocean basins and breeding stock. And so a match like this tells us that populations might be less isolated than we had previously assumed, which of course needs to reshape how we think there is connectivity exists between the populations and what that might mean for the recovery potential. But for me, more importantly, it really highlights the value of PWF's long-term photo identification catalog and our ability to share that with collaborators and across regions to ensure that the data we've collected for now over 45 years and for over 20 different species can be maximized and used to the best way possible.
Okay, great. Let's see. So you've put a number on what spinner dolphins do for reefs. Why quantify that?
I'm going to invite Grace Olson, research biologist in our Hawaii research program here, who actually led this study to answer that question. Grace?
Welcome, Grace.
Hi, thanks, Jens. So we did this paper on spinner dolphins, and the reason we quantified what spinner dolphins are doing for our coral reefs is because spinner dolphins are a living nutrient pump that are bringing nutrients to our coral reefs here in Maui. So they feed at night out in the open ocean, and then during the day, they rest in more sheltered bays in more protected areas. And when they're in these more protected, sheltered areas, they carry nutrients from offshore waters into our inshore waters and onto coral reefs. And so we wanted to quantify this service for the first time in Hawaii. It pretty much shows that protecting our spinner dolphins here in Maui and in Hawaii is not only about protecting the animals themselves, but it shows that it's keeping a nutrient pathway running. And that's something that our coral reefs depend on, especially when our coral reefs are already under climate stress.
Oh, incredible. Thank you, Grace. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you,
Just a
Grace.
quick reminder, I'm seeing a question in chat. Make sure you hold on to those questions and you'll have a chance to speak with the research with Jens in just a little bit in our breakout room. Okay, so Jens, a couple of other questions for you. 375 reporters trained in, responders trained in Ecuador. How does training fit PWF's approach?
Yeah, so I'll preface that with saying we first spent 3 years studying and publishing on the impacts of bycatch and entanglement on marine mammals in Ecuador. And if science just stays in the journal, it doesn't really free an animal from a net and it doesn't really have impact. And so our approach at PWF has always been scientifically grounded recommendations. In this case, the recommendation was a community up approach to management and train ocean users on the value of marine mammals, as well as how to safely disentangle bycaught animals that both prioritizes the gear, which is often in coastal Ecuador communities, the livelihood of these fishermen, as well as the health of individual whales and dolphins that are entangled. And so with these trainings completed across the entire coast of Ecuador, we have trained responders ready, and we've already seen return on that investment. And we've got reports of our first bycaught dolphin being safely freed that would have previously likely been directly killed or left with a life-threatening entanglement. And so if you have this research leading to management that can directly save whales and dolphins, it's a prime example of how our science leads to education and action and ultimately ensures our vision is alive and whales and dolphins and humans thrive harmoniously.
Wow, incredible story. Thank you. Okay, let's see. So 58 surveys, 18 populations tracked. Jens, why does this matter?
Well, consistent effort is really what makes Pacific Whale Foundation unique. If we look back in our history, we now have 45 years of long-term monitoring across the Pacific. So we're able to detect changes in environments, changes in our population, and that long-term data kind of falls apart when you have a missing year. So consistent effort, like we continue to see this year with 58 surveys and 18 different cetacean species monitors, contributes to that 45-year baseline and really equips Pacific Whale Foundation as a unique research entity that's monitoring whales and dolphins across the Pacific. And so you may have all heard that we have a looming Super El Nino pending here in the Pacific, and so keeping these efforts going are critical to ensure that we can monitor and detect changes and impacts to whales and dolphins, but ultimately react and take action to any impacts we see in real time. And that's what makes Pacific Whale Foundation unique and really highlights the importance of this consistent effort that we're seeing.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks for being with us this morning, Jens. Thank you, Grace. And I think we are going to dive into education next. One of the most powerful ways we advance our mission is by inspiring the next generation to care for the ocean. That's the heart of our education program, connecting keiki and students across Maui Nui to the sea and the life it holds. This was a season we're especially proud of. And what's on your screen is a little of what that looks like. Take these photos in for a moment, answer the poll that's about to be posted. Here to walk us through these moments while you answer that poll is our education manager, Lauren Spencer. Lauren, please tell us about what's on the screen.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Lauren. Thank you so much for joining today and taking interest in our programs and supporting in the past as well. On the screen, you can just see a few photos, some snaps of our education programs. And I really hope you can see the joy and the excitement and the love for the environment in these photos. These are a collection of photos from our Ocean Camp program and from Keiki Whale Watch. I specifically want to highlight the two photos that are on the left of your screen. You see students in a va'a in a canoe, particularly a student all the way in the back corner who's smiling very, very large. You may notice that is the same student and our intern smiling in that bottom left photo. Malia is a ocean camper who joined us as a child, and she joined us this summer as our first paid intern with the education team. And I will talk about her a little bit more later, but I just wanted to introduce some of these exciting photos for our programs.
Awesome. Yes, we're really thrilled to have Malia join us for the summer. So let's take a closer look at the program this year. Lauren, can you share with us why is environmental education access important to students in Hawaii?
Yeah, that is a great question. We are living in a world that's consistently more and more disconnected from nature. We see that with us as adults and especially with our students. We can see them spending more and more of their time on screens. So having these environmental education experiences is really that first step in getting them connected back to the place where they are. Here in Hawaii, we are in a place that is so culturally, environmentally rooted in the place around us. So getting our students access and getting them out in the environment is so important for the development as they're growing up.
It's so important. And on that note, the poll, we asked folks what education program they are most familiar with. And it looks like most of the people that are joining us are most familiar with the Keiki Whale Watch program. Incredible program. So, and you'll see here that we were able to serve, I think, nearly 2,500 students on Keiki Whale Watch this year. So, Lauren, what larger community impacts have you noticed from programs like Keiki Whale Watch and Ocean Camp?
Yeah, the community impacts have been interesting to see some slow connections coming back over time. I particularly think of a few instances where we have specific teachers in Maui County who are reaching out, asking to schedule these Keiki Whale Watches for their students because they had attended a Keiki Whale Watch as a child. So really important to think about how that experience was so important for them that they wanted to continue that for the students that they're feeding into and teaching. We also had a really awesome encounter on Molokai with Kanakakai Elementary School, where the entire student, PTA, came to join for the whale watch. They set up tents on the dock and had food and water for our staff, for their students, for the school staff, and also the folks who are working in the harbor that day. So moments like that are so important to see how integral and connected the community is with those education opportunities for students.
Incredible. Okay, so education opportunities for students. I think workforce development is a big focus statewide. Can you share with us what steps is PWF taking to prepare students for their careers, Lauren?
Yeah, we are working on creating the idea of ocean pathways, starting with our programs that you may be more familiar with, like Keiki Whale Watch, where we're getting kids into the environment at young ages, similar to Ocean Camp, our camp programs, where young students from 2nd to 5th grade can experience nature, have fun, and learn at the same time. And then we're slowly building up on that. We have newer middle school programs, including our Ocean Career Quest, which is a specific career intensive, so students can learn about different jobs in ocean-based industries. We're expanding that program going into 2027 to be a longer cohort that is more intentional with connecting students to mentors in the fields. We're very excited about that. And then we're also working to grow off that middle school exposure into internships and career starts for our students here on Maui County. We saw that taste this summer with Malia joining us. She was our first paid intern with the education team. We were so excited. When she reached out to us, she took the initiative to reconnect with Pacific Whale Foundation after having such an influential experience as a student. And we were able to create an internship program to, one, support her financially as a student growing up here in Maui, and to help build into her career-wise so she can give back. And 3, she was able to support the kids who she was just a few years ago. So a really special opportunity. We're very excited to continue those high school internships going into 2027 as well.
That is so incredible. Thank you, Lauren. Okay, and I'm just going to remind you all again, you'll have a chance to ask questions of Lauren during our breakout sessions and learn a little bit more about some of this exciting work that is happening. Thank you again for joining us, Lauren. Okay, so protecting the ocean means showing up for it again and again with our hands and with our voices. That's the heart of our conservation program, removing marine debris from the reefs, beaches, and waters across Maui Nui, and advocating for the policies that protect them. What's on your screen now is what it often looks like, a little taste of what it often looks like. So go ahead and weigh in now on the poll that's about to be posted while these photos are up. And now to take us into it, I'd like to welcome our Conservation and Outreach Manager, Brianna Simon. Bree, can you share with us a little bit about what we're seeing?
Definitely. Aloha mai kako. Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to share this morning, at least for me, maybe afternoon or evening, depending on time zones with you all. Pictured here are just a few of our programs in conservation. We are focused on marine debris removal and engaging with the community to talk about how we can prevent these items from reaching our shores or entering our oceans in the first place. So we have a diver. We do these scuba dives. This one is at Ke'one'o'io or La Perouse Bay, and we're removing recreational fishing gear. It's something that we'll talk a little bit about later, but something that we do see in the thousands on our near coastal shore or reefs. And then also after our nice cleanup dives, we do our sorting. So pictured at the bottom left corner are volunteers that did not join us on the dives, but are ready to help us when we come back to land in sorting the debris so that it can get properly recycled. And then these other 2 photos are cleanup that we did right after the kona lows. We had a lot of debris wash up on our shoreline that were drifted down from the river mouths and washed back on shore. And so that was a huge movement and effort with many different partners that made it all happen.
Okay, looks like we've got a few answers on our poll question. What do you think is the biggest threat to our ocean today? Do you have an answer to that, Bree?
I was really curious on what everyone was going to say. There's so many issues with climate change and just environmental issues in the world. And so it just depends on where you're at and what you're seeing. All of these are important. I'm seeing that some people had a hard time to vote, but thank you for all of your responses. I'm going to dive into those later. Curious about your thoughts.
Awesome. Okay, let's dive in a little bit more then. With 2 new team members this year, Bree, how has the conservation and outreach team capacity changed?
Oh, it's game changer. It's been so helpful, and I'm so grateful for not Caitlin's, the Caitlins, to the team in conservation and outreach. Caitlin Arcia, our volunteer specialist, has really grown our volunteer team. So just fostering, nurturing relationships, expanding our reach, having that engagement. The volunteer newsletter, if you're not a part of it, definitely join it. It's a lot of storytelling and about our volunteers that make this work happen, and just does a great job in communicating what opportunities we do have for our volunteers. And Kaylin Emberg has been a great addition. She came from the Packwell Eco Adventure boats, wealth of knowledge, and is very boots on the ground, ready to help. A lot of our programs that we do have are last minute. Maybe we get these marine debris rapid responses that come when they do, and we need to be ready for them. And just having those extra hands that can help with the logistics or removal of the marine debris is major.
Been a huge change for you and for the work that we're doing. You just wrapped up a 2-year reef cleanup grant. What did it accomplish, and what's next for the reef cleanup dives?
Our reef cleanup journey has been great. We have removed close to 7,000 pounds of recreational fishing gear in the past 2 years, and just in the first half of this year, close to 2,000 pounds. We have been able to attend fishing tournaments where we're engaging with fishers, having some uncomfortable conversation, but very necessary conversations about what we're seeing on our reefs, and trying to think about solutions, or just understanding the fishing techniques in the first place that leave recreational fishing gear on the reefs intentionally. Being able to share that this is an issue as well. I think a lot of people were not familiar with what's on our reefs because they don't see it. So just being able to document what we're seeing. Selkit made a beautiful short video that shows our work with our reef cleanup. So I encourage you all to go on to our website to watch that. We've also been able to partner with very, partners that make this possible, bring us out there on their dive boats, Maui Pacific Divers, and then the County of Maui, EPNS, Environmental Protection and Sustainability, that has helped fund this work. And I'm excited for the future of this project as we kind of switch from, maintaining our reef cleanup dives, because they are still accumulating at a certain degree, but think about innovative solutions and doing more of that educational awareness. We'll be partnering with high schoolers in their engineering lab to think about solutions in removing the marine debris or how to use it. Another aspect from our reef cleanup dives is, now that we have 7,000 pounds of debris that we picked up from the reef, how can we use it? How do we prevent it from going to the landfill? And so Maui Pacific Divers and some other community members have been key in the recycling of especially the lead, to melt it down and repurpose it for dive weights. So figuring out what that circular economy looks like, and getting as many people aware and engaged and thinking about this issue and thinking about solutions.
Awesome. I was going to ask you about how visitors and residents can get involved with conservation on Maui, and I see that Caitlin just posted in the chat a link to sign up for our newsletter. Thank you, Caitlin. As well as opportunities to get involved. So thank you for posting those. Is there anything else you'd like to share about how people can get involved?
Follow the newsletter. A big shout out to our marketing team, and certainly Caitlin, in communicating the work that we do, because we do so much as a team for PWF, and just bringing that awareness to you all. I know I was excited to see the people on this list are who are in this call. I saw some familiar names that have volunteered with us previously or currently donors that I know. So appreciate your contributions, whether, however you do it, and just want you all to be as involved as you want to be, have those opportunities for you.
Okay, so Bree is going to stay with us because conservation and outreach go hand in hand. So this next set of photos we're going to bring up on the screen here is all about connecting people to place, our community stewardship work across Maui. We have one more poll for you. It's going to pop up on your screen here now. Go ahead and weigh in while those photos are up. And then Bree, can you share with us a little about what's happening in these moments we're sharing on screen?
Yeah, I'll just go in a circle. So the top left, that is Josh, Dana, Lolo, Lauren, and myself at the Capitol. We joined the Pilina Kanaloa, which is Ocean Day at the Capitol on Oahu, just to meet with the other community organizations that tabled there. There were, over 20 of us, that's for sure, that were representing where we come from, what we're trying to protect, why it's important, and then going upstairs to talk with the legislators, House of Representatives, senators, and about what we're doing, the work that we're doing, and why it matters, and why we need to have some protections behind them. And then keep going around. That's us at Hilt. We, one of our partners from Malama Pono, that we do Aina restorations, these land restoration days, connecting this idea of Mauka, of mountain, to Makai, the ocean. So that stewardship takes place on land. We have to Malama the Aina as we hand in hand Malama the ocean. Down below is a different partner. That was the Division of Forestry and Wildlife, DOFA, a state entity. And we were in Hanaula, which is a peak above Ma'alaya. And we had a beautiful rainbow behind us. We saw some waterfalls up there, and we were collecting seeds, ohia, kind of an endangered plant species for propagation so that we can continue to plant native species. And then the bottom left is us again at Hilt in the lo'i. So this lo'i is a water taro patch, kalo patch, and we were harvesting the kalo, learning about the plant and its importance to the Hawaiian, to the culture and to the people. And we got nice and muddy, and I still probably have mud under my nails. Yeah.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about Malama Pono, dive into it a little more. What does a typical day volunteering with Malama Pono actually look like? Mud under your nails, it sounds like.
Yeah, so our Malama Pono days are working on Aina to restore the land with community partners. We've served 8 partners in the past 6 months, going to their sites, and usually starts with some protocol, announcing yourself, announcing your intentions, building that pilina, that connection with each other and place. And then we get a debrief, safety debrief, and get to work. So learning how to work on Aina, how to restore it, why it matters. It's a sometimes can be labor intensive, but I don't want that to deter you if you are interested in it. Everyone has their own role. It's been like that for centuries, from Kupuna, the elders, to the keiki, everyone has their own role. So we figure out what those roles of the day looks like for each person. And then at the end of the day, it depends on the partner. Sometimes we might jump in the water, in the ocean, in the river, and talk about what we learned. What I love about Malama Pono is the being able to support the land on Maui, and then just the educational aspect. But we're trying to break down any sort of boundaries or walls that might come with volunteering, of not knowing where to go, like who do I talk to, how do I be prepared. So our team does most of that heavy lifting of being there with you, facilitating, coordinating, so that you have all the information you need to be successful and to give back and to build that repetition and build that sense of place.
So you have you've shared several different events here for folks on the screen. Of all of these events, which one stands out to you personally?
All of them in so many different ways. But good question. Pilina Kanaloa was a very special opportunity to go and speak with the people who are making, these laws to protect our spaces, and to let them know that, that we do need these protections, or we do need this funding to do this work, and just let them know who we are. So that was a very great day of coming together as a ocean hui of a group of people who are advocating for the protection of our ocean.
Okay, and what about Malama Ina Kohola? What made that more than just a typical tabling event?
So the Malama Ina Kohola, at the start, I can't believe it was February, flashback, we celebrated the 45 years of Pacific Whale Foundation, which is a week-long of activities that this team worked really hard on and was very successful. This day especially was the community day that we held in Alaya Harbor Shops. If you attended, we had conservation groups that came from all sorts of research, education, conservation backgrounds, whether it was ocean or, like I said, Mauka related, so Mauka to Makai lands restoration, just to share their work and the importance of protecting the environment, what that looks like. But we also had cultural practitioners that showed people how to make a fishing net, or talking about the kalo, talking about the plant itself and how it's related to us. We had Hawaii Landress come and teach people how to build a fish pond wall. Just a lot of opportunities for people to engage in this sort of cultural space and indigenous way of thinking and cultural practices. So that was a very special day, and I hope we can get more of those days.
Yes, it was a very special day. All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Bree.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks to each of our team. Okay, we're going to share a little bit about our enterprise operations. And many of you are familiar with Pac Whale Eco Adventures. Pacific Whale Foundation is the sole owner and beneficiary of our social enterprise, Pac Whale Eco Adventures. Every tour helps power the programs you have heard about today. So I just want to share a few highlights from the first half of our year. Our vessel Kaiko, pictured there now, is certified and licensed to carry passengers. Beautiful new vessel on our fleet. It's also exciting. Ocean Spirit has returned to Lahaina Harbor as operations there recover. And we've carried just over 78,000 guests across 22,000 bookings in the first 6 months of the year. After a weather-challenged spring, I'm thrilled to share that our summer promotions have us pacing a little ahead of last year, heading back into the back half of 2026, which is fantastic for supporting this essential work. Each one of those guests is part of our mission, leaving them more inspired and connected to the ocean, thanks to our incredible crew and captains, and just helping fund our mission. So very thankful for that. And then our Ocean Store. Our Ocean Store is another way our mission and enterprise come together. Every purchase in those stores helps support our work, and our retail team leans into local partnerships to help make that happen. In addition to the retail sales featuring local vendor partnerships, year to date, the store has raised $7,700 in direct donations. So those are add-on donations when people check out directly to support our Kiki programs. We also have 13,000, you see on your screen, over 13,000 units sold. Those are specifically local partnerships. So we work really hard on trying to buy local and feature local vendors. We celebrated World Whale Day at our Kihei store with local partner Island Candy, and launched a beautiful new apparel line with Maui-born artist Amanda Joy Bowers of Skelfin Studios, highlighting our new vision statement and our areas of focus. If you haven't seen that, some of that merchandise yet, please visit our Ocean Store. Behind every program you've seen this morning are the dollars that make them possible. So now I'd like to welcome Josh, our Chief Development Officer, to share a bit about Pacific Whale Foundation, where Pacific Whale Foundation's support comes from and how we put it to work in the first half of the year. Josh?
Hey, thank you so much, Dana. I think we have one more poll question, but while that's popping up, there's some really fun photos on the screen there. Bree mentioned it a minute ago. We celebrated 45 years of Pacific Whale Foundation and the 45th anniversary of World Whale Day with the week-long celebration. It had been 5 years. COVID and then the fires made it difficult, but we had events every day of the week, lots of partners. Hopefully you see like the smiling faces there from our community day, our big blue soiree, the film festival. We had John Cruz and Tavana play up at Ocean Vodka, and we had a beautiful opening ceremony at McKenna, along with some special whale watches, some Malama Pono projects, and just really a transformational week. And big mahalo to my colleagues, because it was a huge effort to pull that off. And from the feedback we got, we're glad that people enjoyed it and supported the organization. And the question there, it just like makes me smile. I get the opportunity to work with people, volunteers, donors, supporters who give of their time, talent, and treasures. And none of this work is possible without that. We'll dive into the finances here. Overall, I think we've had a very consistent message over the last few years. It's been challenging, right? As we've worked to stabilize our operations following COVID, the Maui fires, and then this spring we had 2 back-to-back Kona storms where we had some pretty significant damage to our office. Obviously, it impacted the amount of tours that could go out on the Pac-Whale Eco side, which directly impacts the revenue that we generate through fundraising. So, having said that, we are definitely on a clear trajectory to stabilize, and we're at a pretty good point at this point of the year. We budgeted to be at 1.3 million in revenue, which is very close to where we are, and very close to where we were last year. At this point, or at the end of June, we were at 1.4 in revenue, so we were slightly ahead of where we planned. And that number is actually a little understated, as we've earned an additional $200,000 in public grant funding. Those grant funds are reimbursable, and there's quite a bit of work our team has to do, and Kagan leads that effort. So big mahalo to her and invoicing and getting those funds in. So closer to 1.6, which is ahead of our revenue target for the midpoint of the year. And I think one of the things I want to shout out the most is that our individual giving is up 32% over the same time last year. And that's as people like you investing in our really important work. So for those of you who have given, thank you. And we don't get to do this work without a lot of folks supporting and investing in what we're doing. On the expense side, we're tracking close to where we expected to be at the midpoint of the year. We continue to watch expenses closely and spend on only what's needed. The one place that we're running a little ahead of last year is really around growth to one of our programs, and that was Keiki Whale Watch. Lauren shared earlier, the numbers were so much larger than we expected, or maybe originally planned, but that was due to 2 really good. On the investment side, we had a large grant from Maui Pono Foundation to support Keiki Whale Watch and some of our camp programs, and Norwegian Cruise Lines also invested $50,000, which allowed us to serve more folks through our Keiki Whale Watch program this spring. And more time on the water means more boat charters through Pac-Whale Eco Adventures. So that's kind of an expense we're actually glad to have. Looking ahead at the rest of the year, our year is really backloaded from a funding standpoint, which makes me a little nervous because we have a good track record from Giving Tuesday to the end of the year with so many people. As they're thinking about taxes and supporting things that they like with the holidays and Thanksgiving and things that they're thankful for. So that's where a lot of our funding comes in. And I'll just say, as the person responsible for leading this team, we do take money year round. We love folks that make the monthly reoccurring commitments. And I'm sure Ryan, our finance director, would like that as well, because he's always asking me to forecast. And I don't know what everyone's going to do, but we do our best. And again, we can't do it without you. And then the one area that I would just put out and ask to everybody here, the two areas really that we're tracking a little bit behind where we had hoped to be, and that's both in corporate support and foundation support. So if you are part of an organization or a foundation, or you know of friends, family that have roles or connections, warm introductions go a really long way. We continue to put out grants. We continue to outreach to folks, and we've made some progress, but not as much as we had hoped. Warm introductions go a really long way. So yeah, I just want to say thank you guys for the time, talent, and treasures that you give to the organization, and hopefully you continue to do that. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Dana.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Josh. I'm keeping an eye on the time, so we're going to get ready to transition to breakout rooms here. I see we have a question in chat. Josh, could you answer maybe in chat that question from Catherine? Just want to make sure we're able to do these breakout rooms and folks can ask questions of all of our programs leaders. So we're going to give you a chance to engage a bit more directly with the team. We're going to open 3 breakout rooms for each of our key areas: research, education, and conservation outreach. Many of you are connected to us through Pac Whale Eco Adventures, and since our tours help fund our missions, our programs, and expand our mission, we'd encourage you to join one of these program rooms to learn more about what that work helps to fund. So this is a great chance to ask questions, connect with staff, volunteers, partners, and dive deeper into the work that interests you most. Okay, here's how to do this. If you're on a computer, choose a room from the options shown. You can switch anytime using the Rooms tab at the top of your screen. If you're on a phone, just tell us in the chat which room you'd like. Our team will get you in. Reagan, Jake, Kagan, and Josh will help get you into a room. So go ahead and pick which room you'd like to go into now. And again, if you need to just post in chat, we'll start assigning you to rooms based on your request.
Hi, Dorothea. How you doing? All right, I think everyone's back. I'm just going to do a quick ways that you can support. I mentioned before, time, talent, and treasure. Those are all great ways to support the organization. Certainly donations. We have a ton of volunteer opportunities, both here in Maui. The development team's very actively looking for folks in other places who are willing to make calls, update people, let them know that things are going on, like webinars and other events. We have a bunch of events coming up. We have an evening of Aloha, if anybody's in the Bay Area, in partnership with the Red and White Fleet. Bree talked earlier about Malama Pono. If you're here in Maui, we have opportunities every week. We have our calendar campaign coming up. We heard lots of feedback last year. We didn't have it. We have a new one. Some amazing photos I got to see yesterday. And I mentioned it before, you can connect us. You have a connection to a foundation, a corporation that you think would like to partner with us, please make the introduction. With that, I'm going to turn it back to Dana to take us home.
All right. So before we go today, I want to just say thank you. Thank you all for joining us today, and thank you for your support. What you've seen here today is what your belief in this mission makes possible. So on behalf of everyone at Pacific Whale Foundation and Pac Whale Eco Adventures, mahalo nui loa for spending your morning with us and for your ongoing support. We'll see you soon. Aloha.